All right. So shortbread.
Cow.
Done with the season.
We are.
We're here.
We are in December.
We're finally done with the season. So I'm curious from your perspective. Give me like the whole. What's your overview of last season as a whole? What thought comes to mind?
A little bit hectic, but overall, I would say it was a pretty decent season. With kind of when we started, we had like what 7 or 8 people on crew.
We had 9 at one
We had
point.
9.
Yeah.
So and that whittled down. We lost some guys, but we also gained a couple people. So there's challenges in that, but I would say overall it was pretty decent season considering. Yes, as it comes to mind for me.
I feel like I'm like tapped out.
Oh, I'm definitely burnt out.
Like, and not necessarily like tapped out in a bad way, but like you're just exhausted.
Well, we're also dealing with you bring on new people, which is different set of attitudes and skill sets, and having to train more people, and like there's people we brought on that didn't have any experience, so you have to spend more time with them, or I have to spend more time with them. So just that adds to the exhaustion.
Yeah.
But you're definitely right. Like I can feel it. I can definitely see it in you. Like you're tired. And that's I think that's part of paving up here is because we only have so much time to do everything. And when you're trying to rush to get everything done, you're scrambling.
Yeah. Well, like you've said and Adam said and like multiple people have told me like you need to take a break, you need to slow down, like it's all right, but and I get that. But I'm operating with the belief that like I'm only gonna have to do this, so like I'm not gonna I haven't just accepted that this is the way my life is gonna be.
Well, right.
You know what I mean? But I have to do the equivalent of more than just myself in order to get to a point that, because like, all right, so what makes the difference between, now and the then? It's being able to run efficiently enough that your profits aren't soaked up by mistakes and a learning curve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's part of growing.
Right. And so, but until you figure that out, like I basically, I don't take much of a paycheck, and I don't take like when we do have a win, it goes back into the business, whether it be an employee or equipment or something else, because that's what's going to get us one step further to lightening the load on my back and every like and everybody else's.
Well, I think, and the biggest thing that most people don't realize is actually what it does take to build a business. So, and we've talked about this before. This is what, 4th season?
So this is technically our. What is this?
2018. So it's your 5th season.
No, so 18 was a half year, so
okay, so
19, 20, 21, 22. So we're at 3.5 years right now.
So back to what I was saying is there's it's still early. And you and I know that you've got to put in a lot of time and effort. More than anybody else.
Yeah.
You will get your break.
Yeah.
Eventually. You know, but there's a lot, there's training, there's growing, I mean, there's so much that's involved that. There's so much involved people don't realize. That has to happen before like they see I guess it's like the must be nice stage. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, cause it's kind of been like some people, I haven't experienced that a ton, but it's been alluded to like a, you know, must be nice kind of thing. But it's all relative and it's all an illusion. You know what I mean? Like it's the people that generally say must be nice are the ones that don't actually put much effort into anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
well, it seems like it must be nice from where you're at, but from where I'm at, it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like you don't get caught up on
they don't see the behind the scenes.
no, you don't get, but it's also a different perspective, like a brand new paver, roller, you know, new dump trucks to us, you know, and somebody says must be nice, but it's a tool. Like I don't get it so I can show people, it's a tool. It goes out and it makes earns its keep. If it doesn't earn its keep, then it's not gonna stick around. And if we don't put the effort in to make that machine run, then everybody goes broke. Like that's that's the way it is. Right. But you know, so I honestly like truthfully that 3.5 year, like that 3.5 year mark, like I sometimes have to remind myself of that because I feel like it's been 5 years. You know, I don't realize because we kind of dual purposed a lot of things and like, I mean, have you ever worked as hard as you have anywhere else?
No. This is one of the most physically demanding jobs ever. Not just physically, there's a big mental side to it too.
Oh yeah.
And most people don't really realize that until they get built.
No, and it's not for everybody, and I know that, but the point I was making is like. You understand that we did $1 million this year. Have I told you that yet?
No, but I was kind of had a hunch.
Okay, so we
were really close.
We did $1 million this year.
That's a win.
It is a win. So to build $1 million, and that mind you, that's revenue.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that we kept $1 million. Right. It means that we did $1 million worth of sales.
Right.
And some of that, a very small part of that will get completed in the spring, but $1 million worth of sales. That's kind of what, you know, what a lot of people gauge on, like, well, what'd you do this year? We did $1 million. So, but in that 3.5 years, like we took the first 2.5 on focusing on something completely different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
so what year, when did we get our first?
We got
it was 2020.
Oh, let me think here. I came up here 2019.
Yeah.
In Arizona, so it was almost fall.
Yeah.
Of 2020.
I'm forgetting what year it is half the time right now. Like it's 22 right now.
Yeah.
I keep for some reason I keep thinking we're in 21. It's 22.
It's 22. We're almost in 23, buddy.
Yeah. So
yes, that was
22.
November 2020. We got that.
22 is when we bought that little paver, the old one. End of 22, it was like the tail end. We put down the first asphalt job.
2020
or 2020.
Yep, 2020.
21 we bought the first new paver, and then this year we got another one. So really, so in 2 years, you could almost say, so like, you know, we had the capability to do some things at the beginning of 22. So in 2 years, and the reason why I'm unfolding this is that we basically stopped one process to start another, because I questioned myself for a long time. It's like, why are we almost tripping over ourselves when we should be on a smoother roll? Well, because we started a whole nother process that we had to learn again.
There's a lot more involved.
Right, so we had something running, we had something that was growing and becoming smoother and smoother with time. And then we basically started a whole nother business within an existing business, because we started a service that is in the same industry but doesn't correlate across, that doesn't really intertwine. It's a completely different,
Right.
skill set and equipment and attention and everything.
It still involves with asphalt, but it's
Yeah,
a completely pretty much like 180 degrees in the other way, because like you have a certain type of equipment for seal coating, crack
Yeah.
filling.
Yeah.
Which is, a good fill, pick out it's a good filler job, for when we're kind of slow or prepping driveways or whatever. But
yeah,
eventually when we transitioned into that, it's a big move.
Yeah.
I mean, how we paid with just me and you, or I'm sorry, me, you, and Colton first job. And then me and you paved a couple ourselves. Quickly realized how many people it takes to 2 people out there pouring asphalt.
yeah.
But we did it.
What is your, because we haven't really touched base throughout the summer. I mean, we have a little bit, but like it's kind of when something gets heightened, then we touch base, like do the personal check-in kind of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But me and you pretty much run in parallel with, we just put our heads down and go. Which truthfully, I don't feel like we would have gotten this far had you not been here.
Well, I mean, I don't want, I really appreciate you saying that.
Well, you got to give yourself at least credit.
I do. I guess I don't realize. I guess I don't realize how much I actually do until somebody tells me. But I've just kind of always had that hard work ethic, just go work, and then you helped me a lot along the way. Like you've trained me in everything I ought to do now in asphalt, and it's not easy work, but I know what I signed up for, and I'm glad that I'm helping out the way that I am.
I feel like the biggest growth that I've seen in you has come from the mental and emotional stamina. You know what I mean?
That's big.
Because there's maturity, which you already had that, but the stamina.
Ow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can get worn down easily. Just because you're mature doesn't mean that you can hold that position for a long time.
Right.
And and I've seen like, and the reason I say that about you is because I know how I've grown in that area. And it's just a choice you have to make. And then you see somebody else that you're working in line with, and you're like, man, like he's holding it together too. You know what I mean? And it's so it's encouraging for me as well. But then I'll think about when we were talking on the phone before you even came up here. You're like, well, I'm worried I'm not going to actually be able to be any sort of help.
Well, because we were discussing, I guess I think it was pretty much like your 3 to 5 year plan for me.
Yeah.
And you brought up the word supervisor. I've never been a supervisor my entire life. And that can be scary to some people. Because if you don't think you have leadership skills, and it's kind of frightening to hear that. Not really frightening, but like you kind of question it. And the last 3 years, yeah, there's been some tough battles, but like, I've definitely seen some growth in myself. And takes me a little bit longer than the average person, I guess, to kind of pick up on things, but like, I'm definitely glad I did it.
Yeah.
There's a whole new set of skills and mindset that I have never had in my entire life. And that's made me, it made me think better, more efficiently. Problem solving is huge. And it's just, it's crazy to look back to think how that's how I was thinking 3 years ago.
And then when you learn that, then you start passing it on to other people. You know what I mean? So like, I know that if you're somewhere like there's a certain level of comfort and confidence when the right people are in the right places. And so, you know, for me, there is a sense of relief when you're on a job site. Like that is a legitimate feeling that I have. It's like, oh, when's Shortbread gonna get back in the truck? You know what I mean? and then you get back, it's like, oh my God. You know, it's not that like, and it's not that I don't have control, it's like, but there's a level, there's that security that like you have one person that's at the same, that's parallel as you are in commitment and contribution.
So that is exactly, I have the same sort of, same exact feelings whenever I'm out on a job by myself with the group. Not all the time, it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
But like, I know how you're feeling is when you're out there, you're the only one.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like you are the only one that has any sort of idea what's going on. So like when, like especially paving, because like, you know, you're on the paver and it's me and you can collaborate.
Yeah.
Even with Adam's getting to that point too.
Yep.
And I'm really happy that he's on the crew.
Yeah.
But like, and there's just some times I'm by myself, you're not there, and trying to control the chaos that's going on around you. That's tough.
It is.
That's really hard.
It is.
Because you can't lose your temper.
Right.
We've both been guilty of that, but you can't lose your temper. You have to keep your mind on track and what you have to get done. And like I said, there's different, like each person has their own personality. So you're figuring that out while trying to get the job done. You know, my one, like, I don't ever want to make, you know, you upset because we didn't get something done or it wasn't done right or this. So I'm always worried about that. But there's a lot of growing involved in that.
Yeah. But I think that we realized, especially just recently, that like, and as I'm hearing you say this and thinking of it myself, it's like, all right, well, the solution is not to wait till the one person gets back or the two people gets back, right? You know, to diffuse or at least, you know, be the painkiller for a situation.
Right.
That's not the solution. You know, so what is the solution? So that everything just goes as well as it can be expected with the existing people that are on the job. And this came up the other day, and I think it's an appropriate answer, is that's because we haven't set and enforced the right standard that we need to.
Right.
And I think that both of our issues is like, you know, because the idea of the standard is cool. Great. That sounds really good.
It sounds good on paper.
It sounds good on paper, but the enforcement of that makes us challenge who we are as people, because we don't want to be demeaning to anybody.
Right. We try to keep a very just we try to keep a certain culture.
Yeah.
You know, we like to have fun and be positive and work a certain way. So it's yes, it's hard for us to discipline people when they're doing something wrong. But we've been having not saying anything, and that's something that we don't.
But then you ask yourself, like, what is the difference between discipline and correction?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
we're not doing anything wrong by upholding a standard. And if that person isn't willing to fit the standard that we're trying to just enforce, not in a bad way, then that's a good indication of they're probably not the best fit for what we're trying to achieve. But then the struggle comes in, is like, you need hands in this industry.
So that you're fighting that battle too,
Yeah,
you know, 'cause we withered down to.
You need people.
5 people. And paving with 5 people is kind of hard, so.
especially when you're doing all the trucking.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, if we sub out a truck, then we're, essentially hiring another employee for the day. But that's expensive too, and it cuts from
Yeah.
the bottom line a lot,
It's not cheap.
for what we do. And how quickly we run and how far we gotta drive around here, it is not cheap,
Mhm. No, it's not.
you know. I feel like. If I were to like have an overall thought of what this year turned out to be, this last year. Is we experienced lots of growth
No,
and like big momentum, but then as soon as we hit that momentum, it's like, pow.
Yep.
Here's what you're gonna have to deal with in order to maintain this. Growing pains. And then you kind of shake yourself off and it's like, all right, I figured that out, we're gonna keep going. And then
Bam.
again,
Yep. It's a
so
never-ending cycle,
it's a never ending cycle.
but it's a good cycle.
Yes, it is a good cycle. And, like and I feel like I'm in that stamina spot right now. Like, I just have to mentally and emotionally accept that this is what's going on for the next however many years.
Right.
And the reason why I say however many is because if I wanted to maintain and reap some of the benefits of the business, we could just pull back the throttle a little bit and not grow. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because if you're you can take profits and then you can distribute it, or you can take profits and you can invest it.
Right.
So your ratio of distribution and investment, how fast and how far you're gonna grow is determining is dependent on, ultimately, me in this case, on how far I want to distribute and invest. What's the ratio there?
Well, you invest a lot, if not all, into this. That's why we've grown to the point where we're at. So like, we're in a situation right now to where we're taking on very big jobs that we did not think of we were going to do last year. Massive.
Did you think that we were gonna do the type of work that we've done this year?
I expected to do a little bit bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but not nearly what we did.
More or job scope size?
More so the size.
Bigger job sizes.
Yeah, I expected a little bit bigger job sizes, like smaller parking lots.
Yep.
Not really, well, a little bit bigger driveways,
Yep.
but like a 280 ton parking lot. That was our biggest job of the year, our last job of the year.
Brad's job down in White
Boy, it
Cloud
was
pretty big too.
Yeah, and that turned out awesome. Like, I didn't think that honestly scared me.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously you pay for everything, so I was like, it's scary to me. And I'm like, that's where we were running on low sleep. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Elmer's trucking for us,
Yeah,
we would have had a that time.
I have learned so much value. I've learned exactly where and why the value is like where there is value and why in being good to your vendors.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like truthfully, like at the end of this season, my mindset was not in preparation, it was in execution. You know what I mean? Because you've got a very small amount, small window of time in order to get through it. And you probably noticed, I kind of like pulled back on the communication side of things and just was like, this is what we're going to do. I need everybody to follow along. Grab a rope and hang on. But it started with that tandem with the clutch fan going out, or the fan clutch going out with tandem.
Yeah.
So we lost 2 weeks, like just before the end of the season,
Just before
kicked
playoffs,
off. Yeah, just before the playoff season.
Yep.
We lost 2 weeks there, and so then you're scrambling, hoping it'll come back in a short period of time. And when it doesn't, you're trying to figure out what to do with everybody and how to not lose too much time. And then you make a big investment with getting a couple other dump trucks. And then as soon as you do that, you get 3 weeks worth of rain. So it's like, okay, buckle down. And
But see, I think that's a big part of where your tiredness came from.
Before I forget, because I'm going to.
Okay.
I write this down.
Wait, where was? Yes.
No, it's. There's a couple brush piles up at Portable Mention that got missed. Oh, and they texted me about it a while ago, but they're like a few days ago, and I forgot to say something about it, but that needs to get done next week. Anyways, so basically, like, I'm looking at all these things and so it came up between, distribution and investment, so yes, I'm hard on the investment side, and I always have been, because I'm not to the point to where I feel like, all right, this is like, I'm where I want to be at. I think I'm going to have to force myself to pull back somewhat on the investment ratio at some point in time, because we are going to have to maintain enough to build security. And so every time you run hard on the reinvestment, you sacrifice a little bit of security.
Right. Going into winter with what you need.
Yes, if we ran year round, it might be a little bit different, but even then, like, the downtime gives us a chance to catch up on everything. If we weren't forced to be in a downtime state, then we wouldn't do things like have had the opportunity to paint the trucks and rebuild the trailers and like get ourselves ready for next season, because there wasn't the money to just go out and buy things, or like we had to do a lot of that in-house.
Well, which
and I didn't want the financial obligation either, could I have? Sure. With some of it, but we were able to gain more ground with elbow grease than anything.
Well, that's why I think it's a perfect situation. We both have mechanical backgrounds, so that does save money.
Yeah.
And of course you have to think about whatever problems at hand.
Yeah.
Like you always say, it's either, what is it, save 5 or make 10.
Yeah.
Whatever, however you say that.
Yeah. Well, what would you rather do? Would you rather save $5 by doing it yourself, or make 10 by doing what you're supposed to do?
Right. Having somebody else fix it.
Yeah.
But the winter time is nice because last year was a little different, because it was only 2-3 of us, so there's lots of snow to plow. Kind of got behind on some painting and stuff, but like it's needed.
Well,
because things get beat up in the summer, and there's not a lot of time to do maintenance.
Yeah.
There's not.
Yeah.
Especially that's with everything else that we have going on,
Yep.
work, training, paperwork, whatever it may be, like you have to spend that extra 2 hours after working a 12, 13 hour shift
Mhm.
to do something simple in the shop like an oil change.
Mhm.
It's tough. It's really hard.
It going back to what I was saying about like just running into the next thing, like when you say you were scared about some of it, it's like I was nervous too, but you're looking at, you need to finish, like you just plain have to make complete jobs in order to make a profit, in order to keep yourself afloat through the winter. That's one aspect. Then you've got your expectations that you've set for your clients. Like they want you to complete the job because they want the benefit of what they're trying to pay, what they're hiring you
Right.
for. So then there's your keeping your expectation with your clients that you don't want to let down. And a very short window of time. And so like a lot of it, I just, you kind of hyper process things. And you just immediately pick the right, pick the answer that makes the most sense at that point in time. You know what I mean? Because you've got a subconscious idea of all of the, as somebody like in my position, you've got a subconscious idea of everything else that's going on. And so those come into play when you're trying to make a decision in the moment. Now, ideally, we would get the subconscious out of here. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And put it on a systems and processes. This is how we do things. This is how we can expect this, and that information needs to be distributed throughout everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then if you're going to distribute information, it has to be the right information to the right people with the right amount of leash.
Exactly.
And in order to figure that out, you have to trial and error some of that. So we and the way I was thinking, it's like, all right, we're just gonna basically roll one right into the next, and we're paving this tomorrow. Our second to largest job of the season, you didn't even know what it was until you showed up. It's like, oh hey.
Yeah.
The day up.
Yeah. But I realize I kind of know, I know what's going on in your brain.
Yeah.
Because I know we are both, like you said before, me and you are both heads down, just go for it.
Yeah.
Our employees they don't think like we do. So just kind of the other day we were talking to Logan. It's like I can see the focus in you. So I have to explain to them, it's like, guys, we just gotta get this done. Because like it's really important. I'm not gonna tell you why, you should already know that, but it's really important we just get this done. Put your head down, let's go. And I what I was gonna say earlier is to go back to our very first paving job. We didn't know how to operate a paver.
No.
So
we literally showed up and we're like, all right, let's figure it out. So pushing buttons and moving levers and cranking stuff.
Okay, we have hot mix in that truck. We have to put it down right now. How are we gonna do it?
Colton, go run that roller. Well, how am I supposed to do it? I don't know. Just get on it and figure it out. You'll figure out what it does when you run it.
Right.
If you don't like what it did, then do something different.
But that's but I tell you what, that it turned out well, but like, and then we both kind of sick to our stomachs, more so you than I, but we just, okay, we put our head down, we're just gonna do this. And we have no choice at this point, but look at what all we learned from doing that. Yeah, what was the conversation we had about operating out of frustration?
recently.
Or was it frustration or just, well, pretty much what you were saying, just like the first time you ran a dozer. Okay, well, I just paid however much for this piece of equipment. And I have to move that dirt over there.
Mhm.
And I've never drove this thing before in my life.
Mhm.
I have to figure this out.
Mhm.
Otherwise I'm gonna sink,
Mhm.
you know. Sometimes you just have to do it.
Right.
If you get frustrated, I mean, forget exactly what it was about, but sometimes like you operate. Not operate better, but you get so frustrated that you just decide to do it.
Yeah,
You don't think about it, you just do it.
yeah, well, and that's so like. Your biggest learning curve. I knew you were gonna get over that when you got to that point.
Yes.
And so, like, I knew in teaching you because that's how it's been a lot of times for me. I found the cycle of sometimes me learning things is I would have to get to a point of frustration. The only way to get past my frustration is to put myself aside. You just said it perfectly. I know I'm butchering it, but to put myself aside and get over myself enough to just do it.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and because you try to like reason within your own mind, well, I think it should happen this way. So then you try to fight what really needs to happen in order for you to get your way in that situation. Well, I want it to work this way. Why isn't it working this way? I'm frustrated because it's not working the way I want it to. Stop.
Yep. Well, and you've had to give me that talk a bunch of times,
Right.
like operating a tractor.
Right.
Because I mean, I committed this not ever running any sort of hydraulics.
Right.
Something to get used to.
Right.
You know, I remember we were at your sister's trying to I was stacking material or whatever I was doing, and it like something that simple. You know, you had literally stopped me and tell me you have to get out of your own head. This is how you need to do it. Just listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me like a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and we were arguing
Mm-hmm.
because I was wrong, and I realized that. Lo and behold, listen to you, and it worked. But we've all been there.
The only reason I'm able to say that is because I've had those battles with myself and there was nobody else to sit there and coach me through it.
That's where I give you a lot of I respect the heck out of you for that, because that takes a huge mindset.
Well, like
A huge one.
the only reason I was able to do that is because there was nobody else to fall back on.
Right.
If you didn't figure it out, I was there to fall back on to just do it. You know what I mean? So you didn't want that to happen, but it was still an option that's available.
Right.
When I'm the only when you're the only one there between you, success, and the customer,
You got to do it.
you have to. Yeah. And so I knew like even before you would enter into some challenges and some new learning experiences that he's going to get frustrated in learning this. He's not going to learn it until he reaches that point of frustration to the point to like so much so that he can't get frustrated anymore and he has to let it go. Like you wear yourself out. You do, you wear yourself out. You know, and so then when you know that's going to come up in somebody, then you automatically enter into that engagement with grace.
Yes. That's
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to take it to heart that you're frustrated. I don't
Right.
care.
right. Right.
The only person that you're affecting right now is you. You're not affecting me. I'm not allowing it to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's that disconnect of your emotions aren't going to dictate my emotions. I'm going to let you have yours and I'm going to have mine, and I'm going to enter into this with grace and patience. And then, you know, like sometimes, you know, like I remember when we were just down the road, I said, get out of the machine, like take 5. Like you're not doing any good for you right now. Like just take 5, go eat some pretzels. Yep, peanut butter filled pretzels. You know,
But that so you you're a very good teacher. So you realize,
See, I think I'm garbage. I think I've gotten worse over time.
no, I think it's a. How do I want to say this? You still want to do it yourself.
Hmm.
So for you to show somebody step by step, to you, you get, okay, so like say you're trying to teach somebody how to operate the excavator. You get in it and you just do it.
Yeah.
You're teaching them how to do things depending on who you're teaching.
So I
Like for me, like,
people teach by how they learn.
yes,
And so I learn by show me how to do it. I can put the rest of the pieces together. Let me
Right.
see you do it. And then I'll
Right.
duplicate that.
Right. Then there's the other side, like, see, so like how I learn and how Alex learns are very, very similar. So it's easier for me to teach him
Yes.
in a better way than it is you.
Yeah.
Because I might have to break things out a little bit more than you do.
You know how to do that. I don't. Or you
Yes.
can,
But that's what makes us a team.
yes,
That's
you
fine.
can get there easier and faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody like Logan, he's another one that can just watch you and go, okay, that's how wants me to do it. I can do it. You know, each person you learn differently. You know, but you figure out how to teach me.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was a challenge. I know it was a challenge. But now that I've been through all the hardships and like there's like, but I can, like you said, I can teach somebody else. And like I can teach Alex very well. Maybe teach somebody, like say we bring a new guy in. You might be a better teacher than me, depending on how they learn.
There's certain things that you just cannot teach people.
There's right.
And I've found that with you this year. Is that the only thing that's going to be your only teacher is going to be experience.
Yes.
You know, and that comes more so with the leadership aspect than anything else. Like, and honestly, like, there's not that much time available to shadow, to you know, to ride along with, to be parallel with. Like, I know that you have the stamina.
Yep.
And I know that you have the determination. So there have been times to where I've banked on your character. You know, and quite honestly, not deliberately put you in a hot situation, but knew that you were gonna get, it's like, all right, I'm gonna put him in a situation that he's never dealt with before, but I know he's gonna fight his way out of it. Not to where you would be, not that it's nothing that you wouldn't be capable of handling. Because I have confidence in you at that point in time, but you don't have confidence in you at that time.
Right. And me doing it, finishing it,
but giving you no choice,
right,
forces you to figure it out.
Right. You have to do one of these. We'll figure it out.
Right. But then I'm gonna be there to answer any questions that you might have and basically allow you to get to a point to where you have to say, how do I solve this? You know what I mean? Because I can't explain to you, you're gonna come up against this situation. This is how you handle it. Unless you've experienced it, it's not going to resonate with you and you have nothing to apply it to. You have to experience the problem first. Realize that, like, I want to handle this the best way possible. How do I do that? This is how you need to proceed. And then you go forward. Right. And a lot of the times the problem lies within ourselves internally than externally.
Yes. A lot. Because you get so mentally frustrated.
Yes.
Like, you get so frustrated because
the external solution is easy. It's the internal deciding, which is the internal, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
which is where the problem comes from.
So for me, and you'll remember this.
Yeah.
Here's a problem. I have 5, 10 solutions in my head. I don't know which one to pick.
You do or
I
don't?
don't. So that's where I get hung up because I get so overwhelmed with my own head because I don't know which one's gonna be the best.
Mhm.
But I think refer back to what you tell me, it's just do the next best step that you think.
Mhm.
Move forward. Because, and I practice that now, and I've practiced that this past year, because I would get to a point to where I would have all these solutions, but I would have to call you because I could not make up that decision myself. Learning how to do that for me was a challenge.
So then making
Problem solving.
making an executive decision
Making an executive decision.
when you don't know which one it is,
Right.
and then kind of like reverting back to all of the things that you've been told and taught, and then because I do the same thing. Like, I don't pass anything off to anybody else. It doesn't continually run through my head. I have to remind myself that all the time. Well, all I can do is make the next best decision. That's all I can do. And then you almost reduce your choices down to 2, right and wrong.
Yeah.
You eliminate the noise.
That's where it is.
Right and wrong.
Yep.
Which is the path to the quickest success? Which is usually the path of least resistance. Doesn't mean that it's not going to sometimes require more effort.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
But a lot of my decision-making process is not always what will be easiest, but what will bring the best chances of success. Because that's one thing that I'll get challenged on a lot by everybody else is, well, why don't we do it this way? Because there's greater risk in us not accomplishing our goal by doing it that way. Even though it might be a little bit faster, there's greater risk involved.
Right.
The end game needs to be success here.
Right.
So whatever is going to get us there with the least amount of risk.
Right.
When you're in the middle of a process, that's the choice that we need to make. If there's a faster, better way to do it, then great. But right now, I don't want to risk sacrificing success for speed.
Right. Speed will come.
Speed will come.
I've learned you learn that with mechanics, you learn that with welding, you learn that with everything.
Yeah.
Your speed will come when you got to start out, and you like one of our biggest things, details. Well, one of those important ones actually. Details matter. So you go into it, and you do the best job you possibly can. It looks damn good when you're done with it. You will get faster as long as your team is on board. They all know what they have to do. They know the standard. We all keep the standard. Yeah. And just I feel we've gotten way faster.
Oh yeah. When you get to the point of nitpicking yourself and fine tuning,
yes,
I'll say this, you're in a decent spot.
Yeah.
You're not in a bad spot. A good spot is when you've figured it out, or you feel like you've figured it out. And so then when something comes along that you're not expecting, it's just more of a problem solved situation. How do we get around this hump rather than how do we figure this out? Right. So when you get to the point to where you're fine tuning yourself, you're in a decent spot, but at least you're on the right track.
Yeah, because nitpicking can be bad.
Right.
I kind of want to go back to the careless, not careless, careless.
Yeah.
Because it's still, I think you'd be better to say it explaining this than I will.
No,
it's
go ahead and I'll chime in.
So beginning of that was I was being too nitpicky. I wanted perfection. which is very hard to do.
Mhm.
You will waste so much time trying to be perfect
Mhm.
that you're missing the end result. That is a very good result. Best result you can do, but you have to stop at some point.
Mhm.
Staying there for an extra hour
Mhm.
to nitpick things costs you money.
Mhm.
So you figure that through every job. That's hours, 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 hours. A lot of money.
You know where I learned that is from school, when we were in biotech.
Really?
Yeah. We were, I was in high performance class for engine building. And I can't remember which instructor said it now, but I remember kind of where I was sitting when they brought it up, and they said the best race car is the one that's never finished. The best race car ever built is the one that's never finished. Because you will have somebody that wants something so perfect, it only ever stays in their garage, and all they ever do is work on it, but never complete it.
That's a good point.
The best race car ever built is the one that's never finished.
That's very good. Makes sense.
It does. And so, you know, and that can sometimes get related to the term progress over perfection.
Yeah.
And when you say that term progress over perfection to some people, you'll find the perfectionists because they immediately look at you sideways, like, wait a minute, you know, no, that's like gotta be perfect. No. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to accomplish something that's perfect, or are you trying to accomplish something that's progressive? There's a line there. You know what I mean? You can't sacrifice progress for perfection, and perfection is holding up progress.
Exactly.
You'll never get it.
Right.
And the
You'll be
hardest
so
part,
stuck on it, you're not ever gonna.
yes, the hardest part of being a perfectionist is allowing yourself that leeway to experience progress. We're imperfect people on an imperfect world that live an imperfect life. That is what we dealt with. Perfection does not fit in life. Perfection fits when we die and go to heaven. Like that's where it's at.
Yep.
You will never experience that.
Right. And you're making yourself blind.
Yeah.
You don't see what you've done.
Yeah.
Personal experience.
Yes. Yes. So what if you had to if you had to put a blanket statement or a blanket feeling over what, you know, honestly, like, I don't feel like the season's ended yet because we went right from one fast-paced situation to another, and then, you know, you're trying to appease clients by getting what, Charlie? So then, and then you're trying to appease clients by, you know, just giving every little effort that you can, which at the tail end of a season, like we've had this last one, like you're running on fumes, you know, and so then you try to pull back to a point to where it's reasonable, but then you've got weather challenges, you've got cold, you've got snow, you can't keep to one process because you're constantly switching between processes. And then in the middle of, all right, what do we do to generate income between our bread and butter and what kind of gets us through the winter? Well, you do things that you're not familiar with.
Yeah.
You do things that people are willing to pay you for, that you're confident you can do, but you're not familiar with, so you're inefficient with it. And that inefficiency coming along with, you know, in our situation, we get dumped on with snow when we're not expecting it. So then you literally have to switch everything in a matter of minutes sometimes.
Well,
when your
look at the job.
equipment isn't ready, when you know,
Yeah.
and that's been another factor too, is, hey, I need to buy a plow. Well, we're 3 months out. Sweet. We're getting hammered with snow right now.
And we have one plow
We,
truck
we've got, we
that
literally
was scrambled together.
we went through a storm with a third of the equipment that we were supposed to have.
Our tractor was not ready to go. The other plow was not ready yet. It was on order.
Right,
One plow. What, 50 accounts to go do.
yep,
That was tough. And then once that was done, transitioned back into what we're just finished today was, we're building a program,
yeah.
you know.
Which was a sense of urgency there too, because,
Yes.
you know, the client's nervous about something, and so it's security for them.
Yes,
What they want us to do is gonna create security for them, and we've got a limited amount of window to do it too, because, you know, like, the ground's gonna freeze.
yep.
And I told them, I said, all right, if we're gonna do this, we need to start next week.
We're running out of time.
We're running out of time. If we're gonna do this, I need to know now, because we have to start next week.
Yep.
You know, and we're gonna have to push off some other things in order to make this happen for you, but you kind of qualify like some critical aspects, you know, so.
And that was a little bit, I mean, like there are certain things of that job we did before, you know, digging for posts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that still was an unfamiliar thing. Like that is not our daily bread and butter.
Right.
We don't have the best of tools to do that. So,
yeah,
you know, that, and there's a lot of factors there to get that done.
Yeah. I truly feel like we didn't, like, there has not been a break yet. You know, we've switched, but like, my mentality, I feel like I'm in a maintaining phase.
Yeah.
I'm just, and you could probably see it. I'm like, I'm just in a, like, I just need to maintain. I can't make huge strides forward, but I definitely can't go backwards. The best I can do right now is maintain. You know, and like, do I want to be in that space? No, but that's where I'm at right now. So like when I was at the gym today, I had a thought of like, where is my neutral at? And I found that my neutral is still back to investing into myself. You know, truthfully, like the last 3 days I went to the gym, I probably would have been better off sacrificing that time to get sleep. But I knew that, all right, I've developed these habits, and the quickest way to get rid of a good habit is to sacrifice it for whatever justification you might come up with in your own mind.
Right.
So I'm like, I can't break these habits. I have to stay with these habits that I've built, because I know they're good for me. I know I'll be able, and you know, and you'll kind of, excuse me, at least I'll qualify it out like, all right, I see the end in sight. What's today? Saturday?
Yes.
So what was it? Wednesday.
That shows you how busy you are. I don't know what day it is.
Yes. I don't know what day it is or what year. But Wednesday, I was like, all right, I'm going to the gym. When we're paving, I'm okay with going back to 2 to 3 days a week. Sometimes that's all I can sustain with everything else that's going on.
Okay.
I have the ability to make it happen 5 to 6 days a week right now, at least 5 days a week. During the week, it's the best opportunity for me. Whether I got to squeeze it in beginning, middle, end of the day, I don't care. I just have to get it done.
Right.
And so,
but you're disciplined enough to know that and to do that.
But in order to keep that discipline, you have to enforce the discipline, even though your discipline is still not always easy. Like you still have to talk yourself into it. Like, I'm tired right now. Well, maybe you'll find some motivation over there, but you definitely don't have any right here.
Right.
So go over there. You know what I mean? And over there, in this case, might mean the gym. Maybe you'll find some motivation when you get there. You know what I mean? You get into your routine. And I know that I don't always find it, but I still stick through the discipline. You know what I mean? Like I do find benefit when I'm there. So like on Wednesday, I was like, all right, I didn't get much sleep last night. tonight's gonna be a little bit hard. I'm exhausted right now. I can feel my body kind of wearing down, but the habit, like I need to stick with the habit. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, I'll be able to catch up on some sleep. I'm not gonna worry about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. I'm gonna do what I need to do and then give my body what I know it needs and be okay with that.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
See,
Like me, you as well, but we run at a high capacity. We run at a very high capacity. So sometimes might look a little messy.
Well,
You
yeah,
know what I mean? But the amount that you're doing, right, is monumental.
so like my go-to place, I should say that like you're forcing yourself to go to the gym because you know it's good for you.
That's what keeps my mind.
For me, when I go to the shop after work, is the last thing is you're driving. I was talking to Austin about this. You're driving home from, we were working in Maple City. It's 45-minute drive. It's dark outside. You're tired. You don't want to do anything. In my mind, I'm like, I have to get these done. But wash the pump in the truck, do this, do that. But I know if I come home and I sit down, I'm not gonna do it.
Right.
I have to get out of that truck.
Yeah.
Maybe come in for a drink or whatever, get some food, and go to the shop. Do not sit down. Because that's my idol, and I don't want to be there. I will get in there. I will find motivation. I will put my music on, and I will get it done. That's the only time that I have to do it.
Yeah, and you have to put yourself in an environment to be productive.
Yeah,
that's why I go to the gym.
Yep.
I won't do that and be efficient in those areas if I think that, well, I'll do a home workout. It won't happen. That's the whole reason I put this office together, is because I know when I sit here, I'm here to work. If I sit over there, I'm not going to do any work. You know what I mean? Like your environment has to support what you're trying to achieve. If you go in the shop, there's no bed in there to lay down on.
No.
You're putting yourself in an environment to accomplish what you're trying to achieve. And so like you recognizing what I have to do and what I have to avoid, because it's not so much what I have to do, is what I have to avoid. You doing the next task is avoiding giving yourself an opportunity to find neutral.
And for me, just on a personal level, finding neutral is a bad thing. Because I'll get stuck there. And I won't want to do anything. And then, in worse cases, you get depressed, or you yes, it's nice to sit on the couch every once in a while, but you do that when you're done. When you know in your head, I'm done with what I have to do today. Then I can go do, sit on the couch.
You can enjoy that space.
Exactly.
But then when you do that, you enjoy it. It's intentional. You enjoy it for a certain amount of time. You don't feel guilty. You're there intentionally, and when the time's up, you go on to the next thing.
It's learning yourself and how you're going to operate, but that's wild, because I have learned and adapted, and I've gotten so much more mental maturity, so much more drive from working here, and you feeding off me and me feeding off of you is a big thing. You need that person to kick you in the butt to go do this, and that's what makes a good team. You know what I mean? Because if one of us was more of like I don't want to say lazy, but we'll just use lazy. That's not gonna work.
Right.
You are not a lazy person. You always go, your mind's always going whichever direction, 7 different ways. So does mine. So, and this, I think about this actually quite often. I was like, this works. People ask, how have you guys not argued, or how have you guys not get sick of each other? Is because we know what we have to do. We know our roles at work. Both have our own personal life. We feed off each other in a positive way. It just works. So, and I can see this company growing. It's growing very quickly. And then I don't want to say it, but I think it's almost too quickly. Well, I think you realize that. So what you have to do to settle that.
That's something that's honestly like, that's the first time it's crossed my mind is this year is like, all right. I have to find and identify the line of too much, too fast.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt you.
That is honestly, I have hit that realization this year is I have to identify where is too much, too fast. And if you're not set up for it, it'll take you out. It will take you out because you're getting in way too far over your head. To the point to where you can't sustain and you can't absorb the amount of growth that comes your way. And you just you get to the point of like, what is it when your heart's in like an AFib to where it just kind of, it doesn't actually pump, it just kind of like vibrates.
Yeah.
You can do that in business. Like everybody's working really hard, but you're not actually accomplishing anything.
Right.
What I mean?
You're not just like you're sacrificing. I shouldn't say you're hurting a lot at that point. Yeah. You are, your customers are suffering. You're mentally suffering. Your business is suffering, and it just snowballs. So I'm glad that you realize that, and figuring that out where that line is at.
It's a hazy line to figure out where it is, because there still is a requirement of lots of reinvestment in order to be efficient and actually capture the growth that you're capable of handling. But understanding what that looks like is the difficult part. How much, how fast, what I mean? What are we really capable of?
Right.
What we're capable of is a lot. The difference is, what are we capable of in this time frame?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're capable of doing whatever we want. What are we capable of in the next 6 months? What are we capable of in the next 2 years? And so thinking of growth and relative time frame. And here's the thing. Somebody else is going to be more capable than I am.
Yeah.
Because they got more knowledge, they've got more experience, they've got more resources.
Sure.
So what am I capable of, and what are we capable of in this time frame? What do my skill sets allow me to achieve in this time frame?
Right.
If I put myself in a situation to learn from others that are beyond me, how much more skills will I learn, which will grow our capabilities in a shorter time frame? You know what I mean? But then I can almost spend so much time learning and investing myself in, learning opportunities you don't actually implement.
Right. Well, learning that every time that you learn something, you go to the retreats and you come back fired up.
Yeah.
Learning it and applying it correctly. In realizing how capable you are, it's a puzzle.
I feel like the biggest benefit that I've had is upping my immediate surroundings.
Mhm.
You know, upping my immediate surroundings of the people that feed into me, people that I can call friends. You know, I've got people that check up on me, basically.
Mhm.
You know, and sometimes the most value doesn't come from a 3-day retreat, it comes from a 5-minute phone call.
I agree.
Just that check-in.
Mhm. That's to me, that's crucial.
Yeah.
Because mentally you need that, you know that they're there, you know that they care.
Right.
But they're there for support.
Yeah.
You're the average of 5 people you hang around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I know the 2 guys you talk to, 2 cans.
Yeah.
You know, you guys feed into each other a lot, and that's very, very good.
Yeah. I just, you know, I've got the thought just running through my head, kind of, you know, like you do an instant replay of the year. And our industry is one that's got a lot of overhead. And sometimes I wonder, like, man, how did I find myself here?
You picked one of the hardest jobs
Yeah.
ever.
You know, with the most overhead.
With most overhead, the most it's
But like I approach it, most people would turn away from it because, like, well, there's too much risk involved. That's a lot of overhead. They would look at something and say, and find all the reasons why they don't want to.
it scares them.
It scares them. Yeah. Too much risk. Okay. I don't look at it as risk. I look at it as, in order to do that, you have to do this. It's a this and that. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. It isn't going to work out if you're not paying attention.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just willing to take on a big risk.
Big risks equals big rewards.
We'll figure it out. Like, as far as I can see, seems like it'll work out. As far as I can see, if we do all these things correctly, it seems like it'll work out. And if something does go wrong, we'll make up for it by doing it this way. That's just how I've approached it. You know what I mean? So I didn't really look at the risk factor and the scare factor as being like, well, I don't necessarily want to take on that. It's more a matter of, I think I can make this work. Maybe I'm just stubborn and challenged like that, but
but it's a good stubborn because you're thinking positively. You're not thinking negatively. That's gonna draw you away from it. Like, you know, like what you just said, people like they see this type of stuff, this type of work, and they're like, no, no,
yeah,
right away, no,
yeah.
You see it as a challenge. You see it as, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I've always had the attitude of, don't tell me what I can't do.
Yep.
Like, if you really want, if there's ever something that will fire me up, it's tell me what I can't do.
It's not much you can't do.
But that's the attitude I've always had.
That's good you have that.
Don't tell me what I can't do. Because the minute you tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna figure out how to do it.
Yep. And I'm gonna be better, and I'm gonna be better, if not the best at it.
That sometimes transfers into realizing that I'm capable of it. You spend time enough to qualify it within yourself that you realize you can do it, you realize you're capable of it, but you have the opportunity to say no. I've approached many situations and stopped from going further because I considered it a success, knowing that I had the opportunity, I at least got the opportunity to say no. That to me is a success. I got so far, I could have said yes, but that proved to me that I could do it.
Yeah.
Maybe my desire to keep going in that direction wasn't the same, you know, wasn't as much as when I started off. But to me, the option wasn't removed from it, from my plate.
It's all positive thinking.
So I started I started to say something like 20 minutes ago and then completely took it in the wrong and then down the rabbit trail. But so if you could put like a blanket statement or blanket feeling over this last year and like where it's leaving you now, dust kind of settled. You know what I mean? Like we're at the end of the battle. What comes to your heart with that, your mind?
Honestly, motivated. It took us a little bit longer to get the new paper. We, you know, we just got 2 new trucks. I'm very motivated for next year. I almost don't want to stop paving. Because I know what that paper can do. I know what we can do. I want to. Hopefully, we get some more good guys next year. But I would have to. I would definitely stay motivated. Like as much crap as we went through this year, that's still there.
What do you think the biggest lesson was that you learned this year? Shut up, Gus.
Biggest lesson I learned this year is probably patience.
Patience.
What about you?
Oof. Gosh, I don't know. Biggest lesson.
Actually, I've got a close second, but go ahead.
Go ahead with yours.
My next one is faith.
Faith. Is it like honestly the way that I feel right now, like when I said I feel like my daily operations are more in the sense of maintaining. Like I feel Brian Price said it best last year. I texted him after the season was over, asked him a question or something like that, and he's like, "Dude, like I feel like I'm sitting here drooling on myself. Like I need." And so I've used that phrase ever since. I was like, "Man, that's accurate." And that's how I feel. I feel like, you just kind of sit here and drool on yourself until you, you know, regain your composure. And so I feel like my realization of what this last year, the biggest lesson I learned will come when I get the opportunity to apply what I don't know that I've learned yet. What do you think your biggest challenge was? So if your biggest lesson was patience, your biggest challenge might be something without patience.
Ooh, biggest challenge of this year.
Like, is there something that immediately pops out into your mind that's like, yeah, that was rough?
Not particularly one thing. Because this year I had to juggle more than last year. So I'm working my way into being paving supervisor. And I think that was my biggest challenge, is maintaining composure, knowing what the next step is, while also doing it. And trying to properly distribute the work. It's just I think that was I think that was my biggest challenge, is trying to do that properly. Yeah, I know I'm learning how to do that.
You're juggling many things at once.
Yeah, you know,
It's not a one task, one focus.
right. It's a bunch of things put
It's
on my plate that
right,
are a challenge that I want to be able to do.
broadening your horizons.
Yes. Yes. I got my CDO.
Mhm.
I was a ground guy.
That happened this year, didn't
That
it?
was this spring.
Oh, yeah.
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 And I got my CDO. So it's kind of in your seat for a little bit from last year. I was in the truck. I was being a supervisor. I was operating. I was the ground guy. I was, there's a lot of things that I kind of, not even realizing I took from you, and learning how to juggle those.
Mhm.
It's tough.
I knew you were in the hot seat when I would talk to you. You'd say, "I don't know how you do it." I don't know how you do it. I knew you were in the hot seat, and you were you were struggling when you were just kind of like at that point of being at your wits' end, but still the realization like I'm not the only one that has dealt with this and struggled with this because I've seen Kyle do it. And so I know it's possible.
Yes. Yep. When you're driving a truck, you're getting phone call after phone call after phone call. Potentially, they're just A, questions, B, problems. Okay, what's the next step? How do I solve this?
Mhm.
Like, there was one day where I was running material and I was dealing with a problem between two employees.
Mhm.
Time frame to get this done. Figuring out how much mix we needed. I mean, just a whole combatant things. I got probably 10 phone calls in about 2 miles, 3 miles. It's what it seemed like.
Mhm.
And so you're essentially multitasking, which isn't really is you have to learn to do, but what do you always say? It's when you're multitasking, you're taking your focus off something else.
There's no such thing as multitasking. What you're doing is rapidly switching between tasks.
Right.
Which means that you stop one and start another. Well, when you stop one, you don't complete it.
Right.
So you never actually make any sort of big moves in any one direction.
So if you're going like this
Yeah.
at the same time and trying to not get overwhelmed.
Right.
Oh, right. That's why I say I don't know how you did it. I don't know. I still don't know how you do it.
Sometimes you just do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to remove your sense of I wish this wasn't the way that it is right now. And you have to accept that this is the way that it is right now. So it looks like this is what I have to deal with.
Yes.
Okay, so I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned this year, now that I'm thinking about it, and something that you've heard me say because I is the right now problems. What problems are important and which ones aren't. Because you can't look at them all right now.
No.
You cannot.
Nope.
And so I started saying, that's not a right now problem.
Yeah.
It might be a 5 minute from now problem. But what we need to focus on is the task at hand right in front of our face. Because if we're focusing on something that's too far in the future, we're not completing what we need to right now, and we'll never get there.
Right.
And that's something like, so you balance being proactive with being in the moment. And when you preach to your crew, think ahead, be proactive, all of these things, it can sometimes come across, it like you can't fault them for being proactive. And it's almost counterproductive by, but it's like when I started saying that, it was because I was realizing you're not focusing on what's right now. You are completely disengaged with what we're trying to achieve in the moment as a team because you're worried about something that's not a problem yet. And so the easiest way for me to just get everybody on the same page is it's not a problem. It's not a right now problem.
Don't worry about it.
That's a 30-minute from now problem. That's a 5-minute from now problem. That's a tomorrow problem. Give it some sort of time frame of reference so that they can understand and I can understand. It's not that it's not a problem, but there are bigger things at stake in the moment that I need to focus on first. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Ultimately, that's what that phrase means is right now problem means we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right.
And also trying to say that in a delicate way, because it could come out very frustrating.
Yeah.
Because and it's happened, it's happened multiple times this year.
Yeah.
You know, and doing it and upsetting somebody in the midst of the chaos, man, it's hard. And when somebody tells you something that you don't have to worry about for another week in the middle of paving, you want to explode.
Yeah.
And I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, deep breath. You look at them.
How do I not
say, okay, hey,
how do I not discredit this person?
right.
Still, address their concerns as legitimate, but bring them back to what's important.
You know, and you just say, hey, bring that up to me when we're done.
Goose Fraba.
It's nothing to do with it, what we're doing right now. Yeah. But that's part of being a leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I would say 2022, good year. Definitely learned a lot. And we will implement these things in 2023.
So this episode is gonna be the first one. It's the first one of this season, but it's the first one that's gonna be flying under the Black Hot Banner flag too. So what that means is, there's on something like 50,000 people that are, we have the potential of listening into what we're saying.
And I hope that
it goes out to a big audience, and so like I didn't want, because there's episodes I could have released, some that were left over from last year, but like I wanted to start this season out with what I felt was the most important episode, which was like the hands and feet. Everybody's a hands and feet. But everybody also recognizes and understands that like me and you are the backbone that keeps this thing upright.
And there's a lot of work involved in that.
Yep.
A lot.
And so like I wanted to have this episode with me and you. There's no better way to recap over the last season. Okay. And B, like there's something to be said for hearing a person out that's kind of behind the scenes.
I hope that this brings a lot of value to people, because there's just hearing the ins and outs and hearing the personal frustrations and the problems that you encounter and how to problem solve and not try to fix them. But I hope it definitely teaches some people and they can learn something.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep. Well, Brandon, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you for you are the most interesting person that
the most interesting person.
Interesting man with you.
So, generally at the end is when I'll introduce things. So you generally go by Shortbread.
Yes.
That name came up about 10 years ago now. Shortbread. It was 2021, so 11 years ago. And my mom didn't even know your real first name until the first 3 years. everybody calls it shortbread, that's what, yeah. So. Shortbread. And. You help me keep this thing going.
I'm happy to be a part of it.
I'm glad you're here. So. Think that's a wrap.
It's a wrap, boy. That is a wrap.
Thank you guys for listening. To all the Blacktop Banner. Audience. So we are super excited to have this podcast be flying under the Blacktop Banner flag, with Marvin leading the way with that. So we're just extremely honored to be a part of what's coming up. And we will do the best we can to bring as much value that we possibly can from our space here in Northern Michigan. So peace out.